we need to check the fund's expense ratio, and along with that, one should check the fund's exit load before investing in any mutual funds. We will understand what expense ratio, entry load and exit load is. Along with it, we will also understand how we do a comparison analysis for expense ratio and exit load. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to Bytes. What is expense ratio? Expense ratio is nothing but a measure of mutual fund operating cost relative to its asset under management. One should pay attention to the expense ratio to determine if a fund is an appropriate investment for them after considering all the fees and charges. Typically, if you consider any mutual funds, be it equity, debt or balanced, there are two types. Number 1, direct mutual funds. Number 2, regular mutual funds. Direct mutual funds have a lower expense ratio when compared to regular mutual funds. The expense ratio is lower because there is no mutual fund distributor commission included. My advice would be, most of the people who have the knowledge, are willing to learn about capital markets and having some time to research should prefer this option. Regular mutual funds have a higher expense ratio when compared to direct mutual funds. The expense ratio is higher because there is an inclusion of mutual fund distributor commission. People with no prior knowledge in the capital markets or not much time to research the basic parameters of a fund should ideally prefer regular funds. And more importantly, people should select the right advisor. Typically, the right mutual fund advisor should help you out on the following aspects. Analyzing your risk profile, not the standard one which the mutual fund displays as the risk meter. The risk meter, which is displayed on every fact sheet of mutual funds, is a bit general and may not be suitable for everyone's need. Hence, a detailed analysis of the customer risk profile needs to be considered before suggesting a fund to the investor. So take care that your advisor makes a very detailed check on your risk profile. Once risk profiling is done, he should be able to recommend funds best suited for you based on your risk profile. Also, transactions such as SIP, STP, SWP, additional investments, redemptions and KYC documentation needs to be handled by your advisor. Periodically, an advisor should review your mutual fund portfolio and do necessary changes if and only required. Finally, asset allocation and goal-based timelines needs to be in check. These are some of the qualities and duties of a mutual fund advisor. So it's your choice to select between regular or direct funds. The above mentioned points are some pros and cons between regular and direct mutual funds. If you have prior knowledge and have time for the above mentioned points, I strongly recommend you to go with direct mutual funds. In case you don't have enough time and required knowledge, better try to find the right advisor who can guide you on the above mentioned points. Again, this kind of advice comes with a fee, either a one-time fee charged by professionals like SEBI registered investment advisor or regular funds which are suggested by mutual fund advisors. A regular mutual fund expense ratio would be somewhere between 0.5 to 1.5% higher than the direct funds. The above mentioned range is not exact as the expense ratios are calculated based on schemes and AMCs. So, I hope now you understood what expense ratio is and how it differs between regular and direct mutual fund. With this being in place, let's move on to our next topic, which is entry load. Entry load can be said to be the amount or fee charged from an investor while entering a scheme or joining the company as an investor. This charge was applicable in the past, but nowadays most AMCs don't charge entry loads for new or existing customers. Just to give you an idea that these kinds of charges were in existence in the industry, I explained them here. So remember, nowadays most of the AMCs don't charge any entry load. But there is one more relevant and important charge one should look into. It's exit load. Exit load is a charge levied at the time of mutual fund redemption if the investor redeems before the expiry of the specified period of investment in the scheme. Expiry here would be specific time period before which anyone withdraws or redeems from the fund, he will be charged for the early closure. It's similar to the charges charged by banks in case of fixed deposits. If we close the fixed deposit before the maturity, the bank will levy some penalty on us. Exit load is also a similar concept in mutual funds. The exit load will be credited to the same mutual fund scheme and doesn't form a part of the profits of mutual fund house. So always check the number of days and percentage charged if we exit the scheme early. Usually, exit load charge will be high in equity schemes and can vary between 0.5 to 2%. Number of days and charges are decided based on categories of the scheme and fund houses or AMCs. With this, we have seen what is expense ratio, why expense ratio differs between regular and direct mutual funds, what is entry load, and what is exit load. Coming to the last part of today's video, let's understand how to compare these ratios. A disclaimer here is, don't take your investment decision based on expense ratio and exit load only. This segment is just a part that needs to be analyzed and combined with many other factors and parameters. We should always do an apple-apple comparison and not an apple to orange comparison. Let's understand with an example. Imagine we have two funds. Number 1, corporate bond fund. Number 2, large cap fund. The expense ratio of these funds would be as follows. It's a bad idea to compare a debt fund with an equity fund. So never compare the expense ratio or exit load of various categories of funds such as gold and equity, gold and debt, balanced advantage fund and debt fund, etc. These kinds of comparison are bad and avoid doing them. Also, it's a bad idea to compare various subcategories of funds. Meaning, if we take a category as equity, under equity funds, there will be multiple subcategories such as large cap fund, multi-cap fund, small cap fund, etc. Hence, don't end up comparing the expense ratio and exit load of a small cap fund with a multi-cap fund and so on. Also, don't compare a regular fund's expense ratio with a direct fund's expense ratio. We spoke about all the don'ts. Now let's check how we should compare. We should compare similar subcategory funds with various AMCs. This means if we consider a subcategory of equity fund, let's say a large cap fund, we should consider the expense ratio and exit load of large cap funds across various AMCs as shown in the table. All of the schemes selected are large cap category and all the funds are direct mutual funds in this example. Out of the randomly selected 5 funds, Invesco is offering the lowest expense ratio as per the above example. Usually, each subcategory of funds will be launched by 10 to 20 different AMCs. So one should try to compare that specific subcategory with various AMCs. I am again insisting that investing purely based on expense ratio and exit load is a very bad idea. I am explaining this concept just to make you understand how we should analyze the expense ratio and exit load. A detailed list of parameters to value a fund and invest in it will be taught in the series of video. So, if you would have not watched the previous video in the series, check out the playlist link on the I button. Also subscribe to our channel and activate the bell notification icon so that you won't miss future videos related to this series and other interesting content. Also, a detailed video on various categories and schemes in the Indian mutual fund industries will be explained in future videos. If you like the efforts from our end, hit the like button so that this video reaches as many people as possible. In case you have any questions or queries regarding today's video or any financial related topics, do comment below. I would be happy to address you all. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye.